Welcome to the Lonesome Willow podcast. On this week's episode, we have Kelly Stolp on. We go over how she went from hounds into the houndiest bird dog breed there is, the Bracco Italiano. All the activities she does with them, from hunting, testing, and showing in multiple organizations, and how some of them differ. Thank you for tuning in and listening to her story. You can find her on Facebook under k.c.stolp. You can also find her on Instagram under stolpk. To see the video version of the episode with added pictures, you can find it on the Lonesome Willow Gundogs channel on YouTube. Okay, on this week's episode, we have Kelly Stolp. I met Kelly, it's been a couple years. I met you at the NAVDA, one of the NAVDA tests I came to watch.
Yeah, the Shenango.
Yes. And then we've been at multiple things together. RGS, women's wing shooting. You've been out at my house a couple times for her upland events that we've done.
Yep, couple weekends.
On the weekends, yeah. So the first question I have for you is, you have an array of dogs. Do you hunt them all?
I hunt all but one of them, and he used to hunt, but he's a beagle, and he's a chronic deer runner. So he's been retired from hunting, just does AKC scent work now. But the other four, three of them hunt. The other one's an 11-week-old puppy, so he will be hunting, but not yet.
Okay. So then how did you get into hunting then?
It was quite a roundabout way. Don't come from a hunting background at all. My grandfather hunted, but that was long before I was born. No one else in my family really hunts. But I had big dogs growing up. I always had, we had Great Danes. So when I moved out on my own and I wanted a dog, I had to get a small dog, because where I lived only allowed small dogs. Couldn't picture myself with a small dog. So I got a basset hound. Fell in love with the basset hound. This was not a hunting line basset, but a pet line. But he was a great dog. I'm sorry, she was a great dog. That was Normandy. I then got a second one, Ardennes. He was also a great dog. Once again, not from a hunting line, but I found out about basset hound field trials and decided I wanted to do something with these dogs. So we went out to our first field trial. Already took second place out of a run of him and 6 puppies. And I mean tiny puppies. They were like 3 months old. But he never turned into a great field trial dog, but we had a good time doing it. So I got a field line basset hound and realized that if I wanted to be decent at trialing, we needed to hunt. So started hunting the bassets. I really fell in love with that, had a great time. Unfortunately, that third basset I got, Gem Bleu, he passed away at 2 years old due to a kidney infection that we just couldn't get under control. Once I lost him, I just couldn't bring myself to stay with the basset hounds. So I got my beagles, which we did some rabbit hunting. One beagle ended up being epileptic, so I retired him from the field. And like I said, the other one's a chronic deer runner, so he also retired from the field. But then I got a mixed breed. He's a coonhound beagle feist cross. Got him with the intention to hunt raccoons, but he didn't get big enough. He's only like 35 pounds. I'm just not comfortable running with all the coyotes we have around here. So I trained him to hunt squirrel. So he's my squirrel dog. We do a little bit of squirrel hunting. He also does some other dog sports. And when blood tracking became legal in PA, I decided I wanted to do that. So I got a dog specifically for that. I got Bravasser, my Bavarian mountain scent hound. And then I decided that I was ready to take the leap into bird dogs. And that's when I got my Bracco, my first Bracchi Italiani, Lievito. And now we have the puppy to continue, and that's Uvriacona. So kind of a roundabout way, but definitely through the dogs.
Okay. What led you into getting your first bird dog? Because you did start out with hounds.
Yep, yeah. I always admire the bird dogs, but the training always seemed really intimidating. So I just didn't think I could do it. I was doing obedience, I was doing the hounds, but hounds you don't really train. You just kind of throw them out in the field and they do their thing. But decided after so many years of having the hounds and doing the obedience that I could handle doing a bird dog. But after having hounds for, it was about 20 years at that point, decided that I would get the houndiest bird dog I could find, which is how I ended up with the Bracco Italiano. You don't get much more houndy looking than that, but definitely a completely different dog and completely different hunting style and training style.
Yes, that's for sure. They're very unique.
Yeah, that they are.
What's your career?
Currently, I'm an evidence technician for the state police, but prior to this was a furlough position. Prior to this, I was a dispatcher for the Pennsylvania Game Commission, as well as a deputy game warden. Unfortunately, they consolidated their dispatch center all down to Harrisburg, and I just couldn't follow. So I took this position here at the state police for now. But I'd like to get back into either wildlife or the dog work eventually.
So where have you traveled to hunt anywhere?
For actual hunting, just around Pennsylvania, mostly around this area, within about an hour and a half. I travel more for the field trial end and, dog sport end of it.
Okay. How far have you traveled for that?
For the dog sports?
Yes.
For field trials, the furthest we ever went with the Basset Hounds was into Lindsville, Indiana. And for the bird dogs, we've stayed fairly local. Most of our hunt tests have actually been here in Elizabeth, PA, pretty close to where I'm at now. But we did do a hunt test down in South Carolina last year when we went to our national specialty down there. So we showed and we did a hunt test and did some other things with that.
So what's your favorite game to harvest and then why?
I guess just birds in general. Really, most of my hunting here is pheasants because it's the stock birds here in Pennsylvania. I'm not quite in the area with grouse, although I'm hoping to get the Braccos up to maybe the A&F this year to go after some grouse. I think that's probably going to be my favorite once we find them, but we just haven't hit any pockets of them. So right now, the pheasants, I would say.
Okay. Yeah. Grouse is scarce in PA.
Yeah. Not until you get above that 80 corridor.
Yeah, I think the population's getting a little better further towards the New York state line, but
yeah,
we're still down a little bit. What's your favorite item to take hunting with you?
Ooh, other than the dog, I guess. Well, I'd say my GPS collars because it's something I use in every form of hunting that I do, whether that's taking the bird dogs out after the pheasants, or I even run one on my tracking dog, even though he's on leash, just in case I drop the leash or it would break or something, to my squirrel dog, rabbit dog. So that's probably my favorite, or at least most used piece of equipment.
Okay. And then do you use Garmin?
No, right now I have the Dogtra Pathfinder, but I do use the Garmin e-collars. So I have the Garmin Delta. I believe my hunting one's a Delta Sport Pro. We also have the Delta SE and the Delta, I think it's an A. It's one of their older models.
Okay. How do you like your Pathfinder? Because we have one and we use our Garmin more often. But last year I won the Pathfinder at Hunt Test, and Justin seems to fumble with it a lot.
Yeah, the GPS feature on it is fantastic. I've had no problems with that. It's pretty accurate. The alerts are pretty good on it, but I don't like the e-collar function on it because it operates on my cell phone and I just can't have good timing on it, which is why my collars are doubled up. I have the Pathfinder and the Garmin both on there. So I have one for an e-collar if I need it and one for the GPS for tracking. It's kind of an awkward setup right now, but with the price of them, I'm using that until it stops working.
Yeah, I like it reminded me of looking at Onyx.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
it's very similar.
Yes, I like that about it
Mm-hmm.
over the Garmin, but the e-collar portion of it's a little difficult.
Yeah, I think the Pathfinder 2 has a dedicated e-collar button, so that one might be a little more user-friendly, but I just have the original. I've had it for probably going on close to 10 or 11 years now. I got it when it first came out with one collar, and I'm up to a 5-collar system now. I do like that you can have up to 21 dogs, and that you can also track multiple handhelds. So that way, if me and my husband are out together, I can give him a handheld in case we would get separated or something. So I do like that feature.
What are you kind of went over it, but what are your current dogs you have, and then their names, and how you because you have like a theme for them.
Yeah, the only one that's not in the theme is my oldest, and that's Alegwe. My dogs used to be themes based on where the breed was from. So Alegwe his sire was a red-bone coonhound, so that's an American breed. And the Alegwe are a mythical race of giants that lived in the Allegheny Mountains. We call him Al for short, and he's a red-bone coonhound. His mom was a Beagle Feist cross. So he's, like I said before, my squirrel dog. He's 11 years old now, so he's getting up there. My second oldest is Barley. And that was part of a duo of Barley and Hops, my 2 beagles. Unfortunately, we lost Hops last year. But Barley's a red tick 15-inch beagle, although he is 17 inches tall, which is why I could never field trial him. He's too tall to enter. But he was my rabbit dog. We ran rabbits for about 5 years before I decided that chasing him after he took off after a deer was no longer fun. Retired him from that and entered him in scent work. And he actually just got his first scent work trial title. He got a scent work container novice title. And he's almost got his other 3 novice elements. And then next in line would be Bravwasser, or Wasser for short. So that's brewing water in German. And he's a Bavarian Mountain Scent Hound. And he's my current blood tracking dog, shed dog. He actually does a little bit of medical alert for me for migraines, and does some AKC confirmation, AKC fetch test, AKC obedience, as well as all that in UKC as well. And then we have Lievito, and Lievito means yeast in Italian. So the theme is brewing. It's barley and hops, brewing water, yeast. They're all the ingredients to make beer. That's my first bird dog, my Bracco Italiano. He's 4 years old now. We are still dealing with a little bit of gun shy issue, although we're getting better, and we finally got over our bird blinking issue. And now we have the new little guy. That's Ubriacona, which means drunkard in Italian. I also keep with the country of origin names there. And he's 11 weeks old, and we got him on some birds already. He had his first point on the wing on the string yesterday, so that was pretty exciting. And he's done some retrieves on some harnessed chuckers and pigeons, and some on some frozen quail too. So he's coming along, and we're looking really, really forward to getting him out there.
So in a couple weeks, it'll probably come out before this episode comes out, but we're going to be having a camping event again this year, and we are just hosting it as Lonesome Willow Gundogs. So we're going to put on the camping weekend, and we've had success with keeping quail around most of the year, or like through the winter. Justin does a pretty good job at planting. So he'll do switchgrass, milo, sorghum, Egyptian wheat. So we're going to try and do a training weekend, and then we're going to try and do a quail hunt.
Well, that'd be awesome.
In probably in the afternoon. So we're going to have it September 13th and 14th.
Okay. That sounds awesome. We'll definitely be there for that.
Okay. Quail will be in season, because I was talking to him about it, and I was like, oh, we could have it in August again. And he's like, you need to have it after September 1st.
Yeah.
And then you can have a quail hunt. And I was like, we could do that. We'll just have to make sure everybody has their license and stuff. But
yeah. Do you need migratory bird for that? I don't think.
No.
Just small game.
They're
Yeah. Yeah. That'll be awesome. I'm really looking forward to that. We've had a lot of fun, coming up to the weekends that you guys have had there. And that was Lehigh, because we didn't have Ubercona yet, but getting Lehigh out and running on the birds there, and you guys helping us with the training. It's been really awesome. It's a great property you guys got there.
Thank you. We've been when we first moved. Well, Justin's been here all his life. This is like his family farm. And then they didn't really plan anything or farm anything. And then once we got into the bird dogs, he was like, well, I'm just going to start planting to try and keep the birds in, and for food and shelter. So that's what we've been trying to do. And then we've been trying to keep, I think there's 2 or 3 sections that have, I want to say it's switchgrass. I'll have to ask him, because he knows definitely, but it's an annual grass that comes up.
Okay. Yeah.
He doesn't have to plant it every year then.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's expensive per acre.
Right.
So we've been trying to do sections here and there.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully we get it to where.
Yeah, that'd be good. And then you can get the bird population built up and be all good to go. I know you guys had some quails hanging around just this last summer when we were there. Didn't you? A few that had held over from the winter. So it's a good start.
Yeah, I like to, we get them, and then we put them in the Johnny house.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think we keep them in there a month or 2. And then usually when they're out and about, we'll let 50 to 100 out.
Oh.
And then they'll all covey up, and obviously the coyotes and the hawks and stuff will pick them up.
Yeah.
But usually there's a group of, I would say 5 to 10 that kind of figure it out, and they weather it through the winter. And then it's just cool to see them in the spring.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. That'll be great for the dogs and everything, getting them all ready for the rest of the season.
Yeah, because once they get out and they're out for a little bit, they wild up.
Okay.
And they're super fast. So they'll get up and they're gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's crazy.
That's awesome.
But my next question for you is going to be, which dog of yours has made the biggest impact in your life?
Well, I got two answers for that, and they're a little different. So Lievito's probably made the biggest impact on changing how I've been involved in the dog world. Because with him, not only did I start my journey into the bird dog world and a different form of hunting and a different form of dog training, but I also started my journey into the dog showing world and into doing AKC, UKC, NAVDA, all the different venues out there. That really all started when I got him. I was doing some other things, but not quite those big of venues. So he really changed my life on people I've gotten to meet, like you, and everyone out at Lonesome Willow, and everyone at her Upland, and all of that. And that's been a big changing point in my life. And then I also drug my husband into the showing world and a little bit of the hunting world with it. But then Votzer's made a huge impact on my life too. Mostly through that medical work. Like I said, he is able to alert to my migraines for me, which has made a big difference in how I manage that condition. So that's a huge impact on my life as well, just in a very, very different way. Not to mention the Bavarians are a unique enigma into themselves, temperament-wise. So he's really made me rethink all of my training and kind of prepared me for the Bracos that are stubborn, just as the Bavarians are stubborn. The Bracos are soft too, which the Bavarian lacks, but it definitely changed my mindset and how I did some things.
And then what is your so obviously your breed of choice for bird dogs would be Bracos.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that, besides them being more houndish?
Well, Houndy's why I got them, because that just drew me to them, but they are definitely going to be my breed for life at this point. They're just great. They're super easygoing, really calm dogs around the house, just super chill. Even as a puppy, Lehigh, when I would take him out to his NAVDA days, when we were waiting in line for our turn to go into the field, he'd be sleeping. Sound asleep in the weeds. All the other dogs are going nuts. Birds are flying, guns are going off, and he's sound asleep. And we travel with them a lot, so that kind of calm demeanor is really important to me. And it's also he just got his therapy dog certification, so it's kind of lended to being able to do stuff like that with him too. So they're great around the house. They do take a little longer to come about in the field. They're a very slow breed to mature. But I'm used to that. I don't have a problem with that. Having Bassets, they were slow to mature, slow to kind of get out in the field, compared to a lot of other breeds. But it's definitely something owners need to be prepared for. But I also like the style that they hunt in. They're tend to be more of a medium to close hunting breed, although there are some that hunt far out. But in general, you're looking at that medium hunting range, which I like. They're a little slower. They're a big dog. My adult male's 80 pounds. He's a big boy, and that's a very lean 80 pounds. But they trot out in the field. They have the flying trot. That's what the breed's known for, which they cover a lot of ground, but they're still not going to fly out there like a field trial line, a pointer or setter or something like that. And also the way that they hunt is a little different. They're not as intense as many of the other breeds. So like when a Braco comes up on point, they actually slow down. Within the breed, they call it roding. I know that can have some different definitions depending on where you're at in the dog world. But they will slow down and kind of come into that point and then lock up. It's not that trigger lock most of the time. So I kind of like that. It gives me time to get prepared. I'm a little slower in the field. I'm no sprinter myself, so helps me to get ready. But really just an all-around great breed. You can't go wrong with them. They're wonderful. They're wonderful in the house. They're wonderful in the field. You can have them together. You can have a whole pack of Bracos and you're not going to have any squabbles between dogs or anything like that. They just don't have that in them.
And if you couldn't have the Braco, what would your second choice be and why?
That's hard. I had looked at Gordon Setters when I was looking at the Bracos. I like a big dog. The Gordons being the largest of the setters, that kind of attracted me to them. I like the Scottish heritage. I share that with the breed. So that was kind of a draw. And then the stunning black and tan coats. Their hunting style's pretty similar to other setters, but they are a little slower because they are that bigger dog. And that's something I look for.
Okay. So what organizations are you a part of altogether then?
Yeah. So we're part of NAVDA. We belong to the local Shenango chapter of NAVDA and do most of our testing and training days there. We also participate in AKC, UKC, the National Barn Hunt Association. I do belong to Her Upland, Pheasants Forever, Ducks Unlimited, Rough Grouse Society, Sportsman's Alliance. I have a feeling I'm forgetting some here. Alliance of Therapy Dogs is who we do our therapy dog work through. No one else I can think of. I used to do the American Hunting Basset Association. Unfortunately, that association is no longer around, but that is where I started all of this.
So you said you test in NAVDA, AKC, UKC.
Yeah, for our hunt test, we do NAVDA. So Lehigh has done his NA with the gun shy issue that he later developed. We haven't gone any further with that, and he did not prize because he would not swim. But the puppy hopefully will be testing this fall. I'm just waiting for his NAVDA number to come in to get him signed up for a test. And then we do the AKC hunt test, and I'm hoping to do the UKC has their own natural ability test that dogs have to do before they're 3 years old. Unfortunately, I didn't find out about that one till Lehigh was past the age limit, but the puppy will be doing that one.
Okay, because I know, so when we got into NAVDA, Mo was too old for that, for his natural ability. And then we did the boys. Ramsey failed his first because he wouldn't swim. And then we got him to swim the next, he was still able to take the test again in the spring. So we retested him and then he passed. I didn't know that UKC did like a natural ability.
Yeah, they have both a pointer and a retriever natural ability, but the dog has to do it before they're 3 years old.
Before they're 3, okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know for next time because the boys are over 3 now.
Yeah, they do accept NASTRA titles, and then they have some field trial titles that they have. So they do have some other options available too. Hard to find them in this part of the country, though. Closest one available right now, I believe, is in Iowa. So they're kind of out there. It was like Iowa, Michigan, or Iowa, Minnesota, and Arizona were the 3 listed on the website when I just looked yesterday. So it can be a bit of a drive to hit their stuff.
So what would your funniest fail and your best win be?
I would say our funniest fail was Lehigh's NA test. So we did the field. He did absolutely fantastic in the field. We got great marks in the field. We went to the water, wouldn't swim for anything, which I kind of knew going in. But we got to his track, and that was where it happened. He started off on his pheasant track. He was following the pheasant, doing great, moving the line, and then he stopped and threw up. And then he forgot what he was doing, and he ran the field, up and down the field, up and down the field, came back. I called him back. He came back to me, hit the track. He started on again, and then decided to eat what had come out of him. So the judge just looked at me and went, "Just call your dog." And that was the end of our day. I would say that has to be our funniest fail. As far as our biggest win, that's even harder. I would say that would be a UKC win. At least it's my favorite. It was a UKC show win. So we were at a UKC confirmation show. As I said, I dragged my husband into this. He kind of had another funny story with the dogs. I tore my hamstring putting training birds away one day in our garage. When it was cold, my garage had frozen, and I went into a full split, which I've never been able to do in my life, and tore my hamstrings. I thought I was better about 8 months later and decided to go back into the show ring with our Bracco, who needs to do that flying trot in the ring, so you need to run. I went to run, my hamstring tore again. I limped my way through the rest of that show and gave my husband a 5-minute lecture in the parking lot on how to show a dog, ran him to Walmart, got him dress clothes, and shoved him in the ring the next day. It was like the movie Best in Show, where they were like, "Jerry, you're going to show Winky." It was exactly that moment. And shoved him back in the show ring. But he took to it, and now he shows Lehigh. He's his primary handler while I show our other dogs. And now we do it together. So it's something we can do together. It's a lot of fun. But we were at a UKC weekend, and UKC a lot of times has 2 shows a day. So it was one of those weekends. Vosser took Best in Show, first show Saturday, second show Saturday. Sunday, the first show, we're both in the Best in Show ring together. Lehigh in the Gundog, Vosser in the Hound group. And the judge gives reserve to Vosser. And I'm excited to get reserve. That was the points that he needed. But then he gives Best in Show to Lehigh. So me and Vosser took reserve. Lehigh and my husband took Best in Show. So we both took the top honors at that show. So that was probably one of my favorite memories, because we got to do it together.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you recently got into showing.
Yes.
Was it within like the last year?
This will be our 3rd year doing it. I started at the Bracco National Specialty out in Nebraska. This would be the 3rd one coming up in May.
Okay. How did you get into showing? Like, why did you decide to show the dogs?
When I got the Braccos, the community was just very welcoming. Everyone, wants to see you succeed, whether that's in the field or the show ring or just, having the dog itself. Everyone was very, very inviting. So I decided I wanted to go to our national specialty and be a part of that community. And the big part of a specialty is the show. At that particular one, we had our national specialty and a regular dog show. And then we had an AKC style hunt test and a Italian judged Italian style hunt test, which was very neat to see, plus all the seminars and health testing and everything that was available with that. So I decided if we were going to do it all. So we did everything except for that Italian style hunt test, because I knew I just wasn't ready for that at that point. That was more for advanced dogs, but we did do a junior hunt test there. We did show in all the rings that we were available. We did the shotgun shoot. We did the health testing that was available and attended every seminar. And it was just so much fun, fell in love with it. So we just kind of kept doing it, kept going.
I know like a lot of people, they're either in one or the other. I don't know. I personally don't know too many people that are doing both.
Yeah. Fortunately, the Bracos are staying fairly dual purpose. Many of the Bracos in the ring right now have dual titles. They have that show title, and they also have some form of hunt title, whether that's a NAVDA title or an AKC hunt test title. So within the breed community, there are a lot of people that are doing both, and hopefully that continues. That's what these dogs were bred for. I'd like to see that, that form follow function and function follow form. They need to be both. They need to be beautiful and smart.
Yeah, yes. I know in past like setters, like you can obviously tell show line versus field line, golden retrievers, labs are getting that way. Short hairs are starting to get that way now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where the show lines, they're much bigger than the field lines.
Yeah, I'd say the Braco community is pretty dedicated to, stopping that from happening within the breed, keeping the dog true to its function while also making sure it's meeting that breed standard in the show ring. The club actively has a versatile award where the dog has to have a title in both showing and some type of performance event, and also like an obedience type event. So they have to have a hunt title, a show title, and then some type of companion dog title as well. And they get a special award from the breed club. And there's two levels of that, actually. There's a versatile award, and then, sorry, I forget what the second versatile award, but there's a higher level, like an advanced versatile award available to kind of encourage both. It's another thing I love about the breed.
Yeah, that's great. And then what? Let's see, what here? What are your plans? So what are your overall plans with your new puppy then?
All his plans right now are leaning towards various tests. So he's currently enrolled in a Star Puppy class, AKC Star Puppy. He's 4 more to go with that, and hopefully we'll put that on him. And then we're going to work towards his CGC, CGCA, CGCU. Those are all the Canine Good Citizen, as well as starting into his NA test. Hopefully this fall, he'll be able to do his NA test. And then if he's ready, we'll look into fall testing for his AKC Junior Hunt test, and hopefully find one of those UKC natural ability tests a little closer. Ultimate goal with him would be, I'd like to get a NAVDA UT. I'd like to get his training up to that point where we get, I don't know if I can quite aspire to a UT Prize 1, although his sire, I got a UT Prize 1. So that, hopefully that's in our cards that we can do that as well, and to get a master hunt on him. And then also just to have him as, hunting companion and a house dog and all the things that all my dogs are, like our best friends.
Okay. And then you got him from Aaliyah.
Yes.
With Backwater
Gundogs. Yeah, Aaliyah Marco from Backwater Gundogs. That's where we got him. His sire was Quigley, and his dam is Yukon from Backwater. Like I said, they're both very, very nice dogs. So really looking forward to having those genetics on him. Both ends too. His genetics are both, front end titles, confirmation titles, and rear end titles of working titles, as well as, both sire and dam being all around hunting dogs for their owners too.
Do you have any tips for people trying to get into events with their dogs?
Just do it. Don't be afraid of it. Get on the websites where they're available, depending what organization you want to test on. Get on their website, find out what's out there, get signed up, read the rules before you go so you know what you're getting into. But my biggest advice is jump in, because what's the worst thing that can happen? You get an NQ. You get an NQ that day, you don't qualify, you see where your mistakes were, you see where your training is lacking, you go back home, you do that training, and you show back up and you do it again. I've done that with basically everything we've jumped into. I've done that from NAVDA test to junior hunt test to the obedience ring. We're just starting into beginner novice. I took Vosser into UKC beginner novice without even practicing for it. And they have to do a recall over jump, something we've never done. And he did it. But I thought, what was the worst that could happen? They tell me I'm sorry, and we come back and try again another day. So just go for it.
And I know there is, I don't know if you've heard, NAVDA, the UT prep is now going to be, is it Gundog? It's like a Gundog title now.
Heard there was a change to it at our last NAVDA training day last weekend, or I'm sorry, 2 weekends ago. I haven't gotten a chance to look at the changes though, but it sounded pretty exciting from what everyone was talking about, being that it's more of a Gundog test, taking out some of the harder elements to train for. So I think it'll make it more approachable.
Yeah, because I was always looking at the utility prep test, and I thought, well, if I just do that, like, I know it's utility prep, and it's kind of like the middle ground.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody really looks for like that title. Like
Yeah.
it's always utility.
Yeah.
Where I think them changing that middle step is gonna have more people get in and kind of
Make it a more reliable test, a more desired test. It seems like a lot of people did skip the UPT test. And I know when I was at various NAVDA trainings or even like host events, people would say that the only people that did UPT were the ones that were taking their first dog through. Because otherwise you're already training to the UT level. Why not just do the UT? So, hopefully this will be that middle ground, because it's a big jump from NA to UT. It's a really big jump. There's a big difference between those tests. So having a middle ground is good, kind of like how AKC has the junior hunt, the senior hunt, the master hunt. So there is a middle ground that you need more training than your natural ability, but you don't need that top level. That maybe some people that just want a hunting dog aren't interested in doing that top level. That's a lot of work. It's a whole lot of work to get to those upper levels.
Yeah, I've been going back and forth, and I think I'm just gonna run the boys in senior. I don't think we're gonna do master or utility. We might try for the Gundog one now though for NAVDA, but just because we have them hunting, they're our hunting dogs. They're our buddies. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, hunting dogs first, and something that tests that more realistic than those upper levels that are basically all training. Obviously, the dog has to have the ability, the natural ability. It's a lot of finesse in those upper levels. So something that can show off I have a great hunting dog that I can take out every weekend of the season and get done what needs to be done would be great.
Have you heard of which I just learned about last year, the Versatile Hunting Dog Federation?
I have heard of them on some other podcasts, but I'm not that familiar with them. I think when I looked them up, they didn't really have anything near us. They were a little further out, so I haven't had a chance to really talk to anyone about it.
I think the closest one to us that they do is, I think it's down towards Harrisburg.
Okay, that's not as bad as I thought. Yeah, that would be doable. Okay. Yeah, definitely something to look into.
Yeah, and I know I asked somebody about it just quickly, and they said it's kind of like NAVDA, but it's more focused on hunting. So like you go out and it's kind of like you would take your dog hunting, and then the judges like follow you and score your dog, and then they have an aspect where they score like their confirmation part too.
Okay, so more upland related, kind of taking out the waterfowl section that you have in NAVDA with like the duck search. Is that kind of what it is?
I think they have a section where they have like swimming and like duck search.
Okay, so they have that in there too.
Yeah, because they're more versatile like NAVDA is.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, that's definitely something we'd have to look into. That sounds like fun. I know I've been looking at Nastra, and I knew Lehigh just wasn't quite cut out for that. But perhaps, depending on how the puppy develops, hopefully we can get him into that, especially with UKC recognizing those titles.
What's the difference between that and NAVDA?
That's the National Shoot to Retrieve Association. It sounds more similar to, from what I know from it, I've never participated. If I get it wrong, please don't come after me, people. It seems like almost in between a hunt test and a field trial.
Okay.
More upland related. The dogs are obviously required to retrieve in that National Shoot to Retrieve Association. So it's still, to me, that's still a versatile dog if they can point the bird, hold steady for the shot, and retrieve it at the end. some purists with the pointy dogs don't prefer them not to retrieve. Not so much with the versatile breeds like we own, but you do hear that occasionally. So it's something like that. I know they have some chapters in Ohio. I'm not too far into Ohio from Eastern PA or Western PA here. So that's something I've been wanting to look into too. So it gives me two to check out now.
I wonder if it's more like I think there's a United Field Trial Association, which reminds me more of like chucker challenges.
Yeah. Field trials are a little different, I think. At least the ones that I've seen. Of course, most of the ones I've seen, and it's been videos. So once again, I don't have any experience here. They've been some bigger running dogs and things like that. Especially the horseback ones. Obviously, you're looking for a much faster, bigger running cover dog for that. But I know they have the walking ones now. We've had a couple close here. I just haven't had a chance to get out and see it. I'd like to make one and see what it's all about.
Yeah, we went out and we did Ramsey's. I put Ramsey and Archer in one when they were puppies.
Okay, nice.
Archer was like very last place because he stays right with you.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't go very far. Ramsey he's out. He's gone. He's like, see you later, Mom. I'm going to find something. So he got 4th place, which I was really surprised. It was out of like 16 puppies.
Oh, wow. And they're from the same litter, right? Are they siblings?
Yeah,
wow, that's a big difference between them then.
They are, they're very different.
Yeah.
And it just blows my mind how like training them and like doing everything with them, how different they are.
Mm-hmm.
They look almost identical.
Yeah.
You've seen them. They both have the shoulder patch, solid head.
Yeah.
Ramsey has a little bit more ticking, and he's like a lighter brown. And then Archer doesn't have as much ticking, and then his brown's a little darker. But that's the only difference. So if you didn't know them, I don't think you could tell who was who.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, but such different hunting styles in them. That's interesting to see.
Yeah. Archer's very soft.
Mm-hmm.
So he doesn't like correction. And Ramsey is very hard-headed. So I have to give him more correction, and I don't give Archer as much, so they've taught me a lot with my training, just having them being so different. Yeah,
and doing it at the same time, that gives you a good perspective on the different styles out there. And I know the Braccos have taught me a lot about those soft dogs. They're very soft. They don't take any correction whatsoever. You'll shut them right down, and they'll blow you right off if you come on them hard at all. So you got to make them think everything's their idea. And that's with being in hounds, that's not something I was used to. The hound dogs, you can't let them think anything's their idea.
Mm-mm. No, that's like with the short hairs.
Mm-hmm.
They give me a lot of grace.
Yeah. Yeah, the Braccos are not a forgive and forget kind of breed. You get one mess up. That's why we're working on a gunshot issue.
I always say Ramsey, not that I don't hit my dogs, but I say you could hit him with a 2x4, and then he would turn around and be like, you love me. You love tap me. Thanks.
That's what I always said about the hound dogs. You could drill in their head with a 2x4 before they're going to understand. You can make a lot of mistakes, and they're very, very forgiving on it. Once you get those sensitive dogs, you got to be on top of things.
Yeah, that's for sure. That was the last question I had for you.
Okay. Well, we'll be looking forward to the event in September. You'll have to keep me posted on that. It'll be a lot of fun. I'll be looking forward to listening to the podcast too. I listen to them all day at work now, so this will give me a new one to add to the list.
Perfect. Is there any social you want anybody to put out there that they can find you if they want to?
I really don't have anything out there other than my own, but I accept all dog people. So if you're looking for me, I'm just under my name. It's under my initials, KC Stolp. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, although I don't use it that often. I think I'm on TikTok, but obviously I don't use that one very often. But I accept all dog people as friends, so it's okay. And I just post a lot of dog photos.
I go through Facebook and I'm like, oh, that person has a dog in their profile picture.
Yeah.
All right, let's be friends. But it's a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
But thanks for being on.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. This was good. This was fun.
Thank you for listening to the Lonesome Willow podcast. To keep up to date on all things Lonesome Willow, you can find us on Instagram at LonesomeWillow_podcast, Lonesome Willow _Gundogs, Facebook under Lonesome Willow Gundogs, YouTube to watch the video version under Lonesome Willow Gundogs. If you know someone that would love to tell their story or you would like to tell yours, please reach out. I cannot wait to keep growing this amazing bird dog community.